When asked about other relatives, her parents had always told her there were no other living relatives. When Judith had pressed to know if there ever had been, her mother had been quite clear on the matter. No, Judith, there was no one else.
But there was,
Judith said, looking again at the letter.
You had a sister named Edith.
Refolding the letter, Judith got to her feet. She tucked the missive back into its envelope and then slipped it into her pocket. She had spent weeks, months poring over the well-worn letter, and to no avail. Coming to San Francisco had been her last hope, but so far she'd been unable to find out anything about Edith Whitley. Of course, she'd only arrived the previous November, just 4 months ago. She had boarded a train in Denver, without knowing what she might find in San Francisco. There had been precious little money after selling off her mother's remaining things and paying the family's debts. But Judith had taken some of it and bought the train ticket. She hoped it was the right thing to do, and knew that once she reached her destination, she would have to immediately seek a job. That idea didn't seem so daunting, but navigating a big city had left her more than a little anxious. But fate had been with her. On the train west, she'd made the acquaintance of Caleb Coulter and Kenzie Gifford. Both young women were traveling unaccompanied to the city on searches of their own, and it seemed only natural that the trio combined their resources to help one another. Judith checked her appearance in the dresser mirror. She'd pinned her hair up in a bun, as usual, but had taken the time to use a hot iron to make ringlets on the sides and at the nape of her neck. She'd never had a lady's maid, and although there was a sweet young woman in the house named Li Ling who had recently started helping them with such matters, Judith was more comfortable doing for herself. She also reasoned that she wouldn't be staying here in the Coulter house forever, so it was best not to get too used to having servants. "Are you ready?" Kenzie called from the hallway. Judith opened the door of her room.
Yes, I'm afraid I got a little distracted.
Kenzie was a few inches taller than Judith, with striking red hair and shimmering blue eyes. Judith thought she was one of the most beautiful women she'd ever seen, but more than that, Kenzie had such a regal grace and elegance about her. She carried herself in a polished and confident manner that Judith wished she could emulate. "If we don't hurry," Kenzie said, "Micah will arrive, and you'll have no time to talk to Caleb." Judith swallowed the lump that had instantly formed in her throat. At the mere mention of Caleb's name, she felt all aflutter. Caleb was Caleb Coulter's brother, the owner of the house Judith was living in, and the man she had fallen in love with at first sight. Of course, he had no inkling of her feelings.
"I'm ready."
She slipped on an emerald-colored jacket that complemented her plaid walking-out skirt. The outfit was something she'd purchased with her Christmas bonus. "You aren't going to wear a hat? We'll be outside all day." Kenzie had her own beautiful creation of gold-woven straw, white tulle, and flowers strategically pinned atop her auburn hair.
"Oh, bother. I'm rather addle-pated today."
Judith went to a peg behind the door and took down one of the 2 hats she owned. It was a wide-brimmed green felt, trimmed in rosettes of blue and red. All 3 colors matched the shades in her skirt and jacket. She hurried back to the mirror. Kenzie gave a soft laugh. "At this rate, Caleb will have already left on his date." Judith frowned as she pinned the hat into place.
"With Florence Brighton, I suppose?"
"No, he's taking her to the opera tonight. Today he's attending an engagement party of one of his friends, as I understand it."
"Well, she'll probably be there. It seems she's always around when he is."
"Why don't you just tell Caleb how you feel about him?" Judith shook her head. Kenzie was the only one she'd ever confided in regarding her feelings for Caleb.
"It wouldn't matter. He clearly doesn't feel that way about me."
"He might, if he knew how you felt."